Good morning, ladies and hello. Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me? Yep.
Yes, I can. Yeah. Yes, we can. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Warm welcome to everyone. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Eric Budiman, and I'm one of the co-founders of Sandilogi. And I take a great pleasure for being able to be the MC for this prestigious webinar this morning, which are brought to you by Sandilogi and Bumi Varta Technology. The topic which are to be brought today will be revolving around the latest insights on how the technology sector will be driving Indonesia in the year of 2021, which will be brought to you by our keynote speakers, His Excellency Dr. Sandiaga Salahuddin Uno, Indonesia's newly elected Minister of Tourism and Creative Economy. And he's one of the country's leading private equity investor, supported by Mr. Martin Tereplovsky and Julian Gafar of Bumi Varta Technology. The whole objective of this forum is not to persuade you to take a stand on one side of the issue we're facing. However, we would like to try and present various angles of the issue which we believe will better educate the public on various technological challenges which are present. We also want to take this opportunity to thank our moderator, Monica Chua from CNBC Indonesia, for moderating this prestigious forum with the topic of how technology is driving changes in Indonesia in the year of 2021. And perhaps I'd like to provide you with a brief introduction of Monica. Monica completed both her undergraduate and postgraduate degrees in the United Kingdom, with the latest degree, Master of Arts in Educational Planning and International Development from University College London. And she has been a news anchor at CNBC Indonesia since January 2019, specializing on Indonesian market programs called Squawk Box and Profit, which are probably the two most watched market programs by both retail and institutional investors in Indonesia. She has held various one-on-one interviews with the CEOs and government ministers, including former ministers Rudiantara, Darmin Nasution, and Susi Pujiastuti, as well as the CEO of AirAsia, Tony Fernandes, and Gusti Kamadrata of Grab Indonesia, making us very fortunate this morning to be hosted by such a renowned market commentator. Just before we start, we have received a request to actually pass on our deep condolences for the passing of Sheikh Ali Jaber, so actually one of Indonesia's renowned sheikh and a friend of Sandilogi. And without further ado, Monica, I'd like to pass on the floor to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Very good morning, everyone. I hope everyone is healthy and safe. I'm very so we're very fortunate and very fortunate as well in our Sandiaga, Indonesia, Saratoga capital, and for the economy, the Indonesian economy, consumer infrastructure, and agriculture, having on as our minister and many things also to Mr. Martin Tereplovsky later on the development of technology in our country and also been made in the last couple of Martin. Martin has lived more than 20 years in Asia, mainly in Tokyo and Hong Kong, where he held various positions in financial markets, private practice with family offices and on days. And Martin also set his own business in 2016, and Martin moved to Indonesia in 2018. And Martin moved to investment, which is Bumivata Technology. And Martin's first role is in part equipment. Hello, Martin. And also, ladies and gentlemen, we have
Good morning, Monica.
Alumni of San Jose State.
Thank you.
And
Thank
also,
you
ladies
for
and
the
gentlemen,
introduction.
we have
Hello, Monica. Monica, sorry to interrupt. We have a microphone issue on your side.
Okay,
Can you please help to check the connection?
She's right. I didn't want to.
Sandiaga Uno, how are you today? Thank you for joining the event.
I'm fine, Pa Erwin, and I'm glad that you're. We have echo, yeah.
So, Monica, can we test again the voice?
Wow, the echo is like 3 minutes apart.
Are you okay there? The connection?
I think so. Let me test. 1, 2, 3. Test.
Okay. Yeah, it's good now. Thank you.
That's much better, yes.
Sorry.
Okay. So let's have Julian.
Oh, hold on. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry.
The sound is very garbled, yeah.
Yeah.
Please continue, Monica. Thank you.
Yeah.
Can you hear me, Monica?
Oh, Steve. Yeah.
Oh, sorry for everyone. Julian, can
Just
you
one moment.
unmute yourself?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, I'm Julian. I'm the.
Julian, can you hear me?
Can you hear my voice?
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Great. We can hear you, Julian. Yeah. Please go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm Julian. I'm currently the CEO of Bumivata. Right now, we're growing the business basically and enhancing our product lineup to serve big data and just services much better. I think that's the short introduction of me. Just
Hi. A very warm welcome. And Sandilogi's tech driving change in Indonesia. And as you know, is it still garbled?
Little bit, yeah. But it's okay. Please go ahead, Monica. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's the thing when working from home. As you know, ladies and COVID-19 has impacted our lives, both personal and professional. And during this time of sheer uncertainty and constant fear, I think our willingness to adopt technology has been our lifeline. And I think, furthermore, the impact of the coronavirus pandemic is causing everyone in Indonesia, not only in Indonesia, but also around the world, to revisit the global norms that have been the backdrop for business for the last century. And coupled with emerging technologies, social demographic shift, and political and economic uncertainty, COVID-19 will definitely change the entire economic, geopolitical systems, and how businesses run. And resilience and connectivity will be the new watchwords as organizations seek to adjust to this unpredictable future. And for example, I think before this pandemic, this platform called Zoom, the one that we're using right now, is almost unheard of. But now I think for many of us, I'm sure we all have had countless meetings using this platform. And I think in that context, I think we all agree here that it's very essential to understand how fast these technology developments are taking place and how the world have evolved in, and of course to craft strategies that recognize these kind of changes for the future. Therefore, we will roll out these important views from some of the greatest minds, both in the business and also the technology world. But before we start the discussion, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to remind you that we also encourage all of you to actively participate in this discussion, where you can drop your question in the chat section below with the format, name, affiliation, question, and who your question is addressed for. And your question will be answered in the Q&A session after our talk show. So I think without further ado, I would like to invite our first keynote speaker, His Excellency Dr. Sandiaga Uno, on his views of the future of digital technology in Indonesia. The stage is yours, Dr. Sandi.
Thank you very much, Monica, and good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. I am so delighted to be invited in this forum. As you know, that we have planned this forum in December, and unfortunately, I was infected by COVID-19, so I was out of the action. Sorry, Julian and Martin. And then right after I was declared healthy by the doctor, I got a new gig where I have to wear uniform now. So actually, I got an appointment in quite a challenging post of tourism and creative economy. So I will be speaking within that sector, tourism and creative economy, and the digital economy is actually part of a sector, one of the subsector within my ministry that I would also help to coordinate. So Pa Eric and Pa two good friends of mine continue to work very hard, make this event still possible. I hope this echo will not much of a disruption. So I would on the digital transformation, whereby we are being by the pandemic, and every single sectors would need to be transformed by digital economy. Particularly that sectors that have to be transformed very quickly. The one that also seeing some kind of high contribution to the economy. So close to 60% of our economy is supported by medium, micro, and small enterprises. So here at the tourism and creative economy, we have to rely on how technology such as BVT and many other technology players would assist us in terms of how we could include the sector should be inclusive and help market players to adopt and accelerate their rate of adapting and it will also help them to innovate. So if we talk about the tourism and creative economy sector, you're seeing $23 billion in estimate of our economic output by 2024. And creative economy itself is nearing $20 billion. We are now looking at about 5 to 6% contributions to our GDP. But in terms of jobs created, these two sectors combined for more than 34 million jobs. So we are looking at the leadership of the technology sectors and digital economy to also work hand in hand to ensure, because people will say that, well, technology destroys job. It's a huge destruction. But from our sectors, we're seeing that actually technology would make the jobs in the tourism and creative economy to be better quality. We are seeing 9 million of new jobs are actually open due to the transformations caused by artificial intelligence and machine learning, big data, including robotics. So it's a lot of excitement here at the tourism and creative economy sectors, and I'd like to listen in to the conversations. So I'd like to keep my remarks very short, and I'm open if there is further questions, including questions as how we could work more closely with the technology sector in order to prepare our recovery post-pandemic. But in the 3 to 6 months ahead, we need to make sure that we increase our discipline and our adoptions of the health protocol. Zoom, Monica says, becomes a norm. It is actually becomes a word. It's not a product in our conversations and our daily conversations. Sulaiman, my 9-year-old, would ask me, "Dad, will you be Zooming today?" So it's becoming a word like Google, like many other part of our daily life now. So with that, thank you very much for the invitations, and good luck for conversations that I would believe that it's going to be fruitful. Thank you, Sandilogi, for all the sponsors, Golf Bros, Bros, Bro Yuka, Bro Eric, Bro Erwin, and I am seeing familiar faces here in I guess the gallery. So I would not be able to say hi to every one of you, but good luck, Julian and Martin, and we'll be excited to hear the conversation. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullah. Thank you, Pak Menteri.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sandi, for your interventions. And next, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite Martin Tapilowskis, the founder of Bumi Vata, on his views on how technology is evolving from business perspective in the future. The stage is yours, Martin.
Turn on your mic, Martin.
Your audio is still off.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you sure? So yeah, I'm going to give a very, very quick introduction to our company, and then Julian is going to give more information in relation to how technology in the overall market and how BVT will fit into that. Okay? Can you hear me?
Yes, Martin.
Okay, so yeah, I'm just going to give a quick introduction to our company, as has been highlighted in Eric's notes here, and then after that, I will pass this on to Julian to give more information. So yeah, basically, Bumivata Technology is sorry, next one. Yeah, sorry. So yeah, Bumivata Technology, we're a 2-year-old company. We specialize in location intelligence and business intelligence software. Now, this is becoming increasingly important. Even if you saw Paksandi's acceptance speech when he became the Minister of Tourism and Creative Economy, he mentioned the importance of mapping big data. So that's basically what we do. There was nobody else doing it in the market. So, sorry, there was, sorry, hold on a second. There was nobody else doing it in the market, so we came along and did this. All kinds of big data, and then we use machine learning to do predictive analytics. So this may be used in the tourism industry to find out what people are attracted to based on past behavior, based on people traffic, anything like that really. So it's very wide. We offer different modules for all types of companies. So again, I think data is going to be very, very important post-pandemic, because obviously there's going to be winners and losers. And I think the people with the best data will win, whether that's where they open their next business, how they plan the logistics, manage their assets, also risk and sales management. I think it's going to become more and more important for companies to be able to use the data. Data is very important, but that data has to be understandable. And we map the data, so you can go to any DESA in Indonesia and find out all about the population, all about the traffic network. We have collected the data on every single kelontong in Indonesia, which for all the big FMCG companies is obviously very, very important, and can be used for a wide variety of things. It just says here, yeah, 2 million points of interest, 30 sets of thematic data, and data for 138 million mobile devices. So all this data is used to allow people to make better decisions. It's not just having the most data, it's being able to visualize it in the best way to make decisions. And we deal with the government, certain government agencies, we deal with big corporations like XXI Cinema, like Tower Bersama Group, obviously from Paksandi, BAT. So we've had quite strong progress. We started with just 4 people, now we have nearly 100 people. So we basically have had strong trajectory even during COVID, because still people need the data, people need to make decisions about their business going forward. But I think there's also something quite important. We're actually creating our own map. So the hope is, I mean, I'm the only Bule working for our company actually, as actually the original investor. We're actually a local company. So there's one more ex-banking friend of mine who's on the board, but everybody else is all my board members and all my staff. It's a local company, and we plan to actually create Indonesia's own map. So not that we plan, we've done it already actually. So we are already beta testing API routing to compete with Google Maps in Indonesia. People say it can't be done. We've done it already actually. So and also for the SME community, we have an application within our map to help with geofencing for advertising. So little companies cannot afford SMS blasting, for example. It's too expensive. And if people get given a flyer, they just throw it away. It doesn't work, right? People within a certain area to very low cost. So sorry, somebody's highlighted something. So yeah, BVT, that's basically BVT in general, and what we plan to do. So what I'll let Julian do is talk in more detail about the overall technology differences. Can they not hear me? Sorry.
Hello, Martin.
All right. So yeah, sorry. Sorry, I thought you couldn't hear me. I thought you couldn't hear me then, sorry. Yeah, so I won't bore you with these slides. Anyone can look at these at the end, but this is a kind of portfolio of our products and what we actually do. And again, as I say, we collect all this different data for risk. We grid risk data for insurance companies, accessibility for hotels, for example, all kind of different ways. White space analysis for companies wanting to build warehouses, all different kind of analysis based on the big data and the mapping. So if anyone wants more information, we will pass that to them. But yeah, basically what Julian's going to do now is give more information on the overall, on the overall product, on the overall economy. Okay.
Thank you very much, Martin. It's very interesting what Bumivata is doing. I think it's maybe the first one in Indonesia to do such thing. And of course, we hope in the future, Bumivata will be a part of bringing.
I do believe so. You see, it's very interesting because obviously it's interesting. So I'll let Julian go on to the next topic.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Martin. And ladies and gentlemen, moving on what sorts of trends that are forecasted to see in 2021 in the terms of technological advancements and what's there to say from 2020 to 2021. I would like to invite Julian Gaffa, the Chief Executive Officer of Bumivata Technology. Please, Julian, the stage is yours.
Hi, thank you, Monica. Thank you, Pak Menteri. Thank you, Pak Eric, Pak Erwin. So I have quite a brief presentation in talking about the trends that we believe are going to be key for Indonesia in 2021. Can anybody hear my voice and see my screen?
Yes, I can hear you.
Excellent. Yeah. Thank you. So little looking back before the pandemic, what's going on? So yeah, little looking back, 2018 till 2019, there were around 992 startups, and this is the data from Bappenas and Bekraf. There were 352 new e-commerce startups, 53 fintech, 55 gaming startups, and then 532 other startups. So, and then 2020 happened, right? We felt the pinch. What happened in 2020? Number one, the global pandemic happened, right? And this is something that is truly global. And a lot of what happened in 2020 is as a reaction to the pandemic. Work from home, right? As Pak Menteri mentioned, that Zoom is now a word instead of a product, right? And then one of the accesses is also e-commerce became booming in Indonesia again. And then there were financial industry consolidation. And then there's also, especially at the end of the year, some concerns in regards to social media, especially in terms of privacy. So some of the trends that we see in 2021, again, these trends are actually not new, but these are the trends that we feel are going to be key to Indonesia in 2021. So first is remote work. We believe it is going to be here to stay. Second is data is king in 2021. Consumer apps, second wave. Cloud finally goes mainstream in Indonesia. And then there's a wild card actually that I'm going to talk about at the end of my presentation. So the first one, remote work, right? We believe that the HR apps that went up because of remote work and become famous with remote work will continue to flourish. Collaborative software is also going to flourish more, not only as Zoom, but office tools such as, sorry?
Yes, Julian, go ahead.
Okay, so office tools such as Slack, Microsoft Teams, Google Workspace, companies are being dragged, kicking and screaming to adopt these, and then some of the more traditional office where people will start feeling the limitations. And then focus on KPIs and OKRs. A lot of this is more in terms of cultural instead of as a tool perspective, right? Deliverables instead of being counted in terms when showing up. Improve productivity from elimination of commuting. Online training still lags, but there's a good opportunity there. Online collaboration across division companies, though, will flourish. Stronger push towards 5G. Full digital switchover. And then even when vaccine, I believe, are fully available and people start return to the office, but I believe what people want in terms of work has changed. So work itself has changed because of the situation. And as a nod, Pak Menteri, I'm strongly bullish in terms of the post-pandemic travel for Indonesia. I think social interaction that previously have been fulfilled in the office will be fulfilled through traveling and leisure and hanging out. Next is in terms of, this is just a small illustration, in regards to people's commuting. I hope it's easier to see, but there's much more red. This is the first one is pre-pandemic. This is the first PSBB in April, and then this is December. It might be hard to see the difference in color, but in terms of December, in limited PSBB, the commuting rate is still way lower than on pre-pandemic. So next is data, right? Remote working makes business communicate, generate, consume, and use data instead of using their gut feel, right? There is less dependence on social interaction to make decisions. So cold hard data is the winner, actually. Business intelligence software, such as what we're doing in BDC, is going to flourish much more. Companies need real intel to act, spatial insights, competitive metrics, risk analysis. So big data is now a need instead nice to have. Next is artificial intelligence, machine learning. We even foresee robotics in manufacturing to be widely accepted in Indonesia instead of only small manufacturing groups. And last but not least, image recognition technology. I see that a lot of banking have used image recognition. For instance, BNI doing their KYC through image recognition, traffic management in terms of image recognition, and manufacturing. One company, Indonesian company to watch, I think is NoteFlux. They're doing interesting things in image recognition. So actually, local companies starting really deep data. Next is the consumer apps. So I call this the second wave consumer apps. In 2020, e-commerce are booming, but the things to see in 2021 is actually depends on the vaccine, right? People are already very much used to purchasing online, but the sustainability will really depend on the how the economy is doing and consumers' purchasing power. Next is the consumer financial services we see in 2020, and this will continue in 21 in terms of alternative payment methods. We'll see that there's going to be some consolidation in 2021 because we feel that 2020 is a push to make people more comfortable in alternative payment methods, but we believe in 2021 there needs to be some consolidation in there. Cord cutting is going to continue. Yeah, so I think 2020 is the time when people really see internet as a hub of entertainment, work, but also life. And we feel that OTT that is highly consumed in 2020 will stabilize or so in 2021. And last but not least, in terms of the e-commerce and technology business, we believe that a lot of large technology companies are going to start proving their maturity and revenue instead of a simple valuation model. So EBITDA is going to be a focus. The next, now this is not new globally, but we see that cloud really will go mainstream and be essential in 2021. A lot of, as I mentioned, data is very important in 2020. So a lot of companies really started to look at big data, and it's really quite hard to do big data that is on premise instead of in data centers. It's also a case of perfect timing. There's been a lot of events and training by cloud providers, and now we believe that the workforce has been ready for the big data. Monitoring dashboard services have been ready, and then compliance pretty much have been sorted out for a large measure, even though there's still some details that might need to be sorted out. Now, for my last slide is actually wildcard, right? And it actually, at this stage, depends to many macro factors, which is this. The pandemic have made solar energy and electric vehicle makes more sense. You know, there's increased home energy consumption because of work from home. So this might be the time where it makes sense, starting to make sense for solar powered home to be more attractive. And smart homes, of course, is also much easier to implement when you have a lot of electronic IoT functionalities at home. And in terms of electric vehicle, Pak Jokowi and the government have the ambition to develop Indonesia as an electric powerhouse. So maybe it's a good combination, right? People at daytime, they're doing work from home, they charge their vehicles via the solar panels. I foresee that a lot of retail area and malls to really push their people visiting time to going to start providing charging stations to entire customers to improve their staying time in the retail area. So that's the, I hope, quite brief slides that I've shared. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Julian. So let me highlight something that working from home is here to stay, but sadly it doesn't apply to me, Julian. Never applies to me. Thank you very much, Julian. And thank you all speakers. And moving on, we'll now have a panel discussion with our speakers to dig deeper on this topic. I have set a few questions here. I'll start with what opportunities from technology advancements that business can maximize in 2021? And with such shift on consumers' behavior from offline to offline, what sorts of threats and challenges facing businesses in 2021? For this, I'd like to go to Dr. Sandiago first.
First of all, I think it's very, very clear that technology, in particular big data, Julian, Martin have mentioned, will make first this sector more efficient. In the past, we focused on promotions that were sort of like, overall carpet bombing. Let's say London, we put wonderful Indonesia in London cab and buses and big bus, paying for spaces that may have very little impact in terms of how people view Indonesia and actively experience of their trips. With big data, I can call Julian and Martin. I said, Julian, Martin, how do I have a much better targeted and segmented promotional program that if this type of objective? And I have a entrepreneur DNA, so I want to have a bang for my dollar. So then Julian Martin says, Pasanti, why don't we try targeted ads here, this geography, this demography, using platforms such as Facebook, or Instagram, or maybe Airbnb and stuff like that. So I would have a much better guidance in terms of my promotional program. That's as simple as that. Secondly, the tourism traffic has to be physical, yes, but we could develop a program. I mentioned earlier, hybrid program where we invite maybe 75 of key opinion leaders based on data to go on a triathlon, let's say Mandalika. But we will invite hundreds of thousands of others to participate and experience the feel of a triathlon in Lombok or Mandalika using technology. So, the typical Ironman in various places would be 1,000, 1,200 max. But here we may be able to have a much larger impact. So, innovative minds keep on going, but rather than taking all the space, I'll pass it back to Monica.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Sanjay. And I would like to ask the same questions as well to Martin on the kind of opportunities can be maximized and also the threat and challenges that come with such technological advancement.
I think I've got my slides. So I've actually got some slides on this also. So
Go ahead, Martin.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm technology not the best at technology actually. Right. Yeah. So opportunities. It's loud now. Sorry. Okay. Right. So what do I think the opportunities are? Hey, why is it doing that? Sorry, boss, we've got a problem. Why is it doing that? I'll just do it then.
Go ahead, Martin.
Okay.
Go ahead, Martin.
Right, sorry. Yeah. So yeah, technology evolving from private business in 2021. Private businesses, I think, will again start to increase their tech investment. In technology after some reduced spending in 2020. VC and P funds still have money to spend, and the long-term economic story remains intact. Sorry, I've got a problem here. Hold on. Is it working? Can you hear me, guys?
It's working. It's perfect, Martin. Go ahead.
All right, it's vibrating here. Sorry. So yeah, so I think the long-term Indonesian economic story remains intact. Foreign entities will want to be part of it, and I think the increased spending will start to create increased competition between players. And again, that leads back to the fact that there's going to be an increased amount of importance around big data, and a huge difference between the winners and losers, the people who choose to use the big data and the people who don't. So looking at what's the risk and opportunities for Indonesia, I think technology can bring about huge advancements for Indonesia and for many different sectors. Just like Dr. Sandy was saying, it's pretty any different. We talked to multiple government departments and we talked to multiple different types of company. And all these people can see a huge benefit in being able to map big data better. And I think it's part of Indonesia's future, and I believe we'll be part of that. Again, COVID-19 is obviously affecting the global economy, but Indonesia still has the demographics that hasn't changed. So we still have an increasingly educated middle-class population, people getting to, getting more involved with technology. And I believe that it's at the forefront of the opportunity. That's obviously why I came here after 20 years already in Asia. So that's why I came here. So the threats, I think, to the market is getting more entrepreneurs to focus on the long-term tech benefits. I think what we often see is people focused on short-term valuations, and maybe more deep tech is actually needed, but that's not something that the VC industry in Indonesia is particularly interested in. We're basically backed by ourselves and some local businessmen who are friends of ours, but it's not something that VCs are interested in because it's considered too complicated, too deep dive, etc. So I think we need to try to create a more focus on the deep tech opportunities. Again, I think the investment in tech startups in Indonesia is still very concentrated. It's not across the board. I have some very great guys who work for me. They don't speak English very well, so therefore they don't have the right network. They didn't go to Jakarta International School or Ivy League, but they went to ITB, they went to UGM. They're very good at what they do, but they would never get a look in for raising capital. So again, the money is very, very focused on a small group of people. Tech media, they call themselves the tech media. Are they talking about tech, or are they talking about valuation and raising money? Again, that's another question. Of course, the valuation is important to any company, and that's what we all want to achieve. But when there's actually no looking actually at the underlying tech, I think it's a concern because people are not focusing on what technology can actually achieve. I think tech should solve issues. I think there's lots of issues that tech can solve, and there's some fantastic startups out there. I think NodeFlux was mentioned before, great guys over there. Clue and other guys as well got some great ideas. But a lot of startups are basically copying from what's made money somewhere else. It's not necessarily going to solve an issue. So I think that's a threat to the overall economy, the focus not being enough on the technology. I think also, I see a lot of companies outsourcing overseas. I think we can take advantage of a local educated workforce. I don't think obviously if you take staff from overseas, you've got an issue with the language and all this. We're a big believer in hiring high quality workforce here in Indonesia. So going on for BVT, what's the biggest issues? Well, changing perceptions of Indonesian tech. You talk to the government, they've never used pure Indonesian tech. They've all used American and Chinese, and they've put it together with consultants and consortiums, and it's cost a lot of money and it doesn't work. I believe that Indonesia can have best in class and a world-class software company that can be then exported overseas. Again, and then what's the opportunity? Well, the other side of that is, why can't Indonesia have its own SAP or Salesforce? At BVT, we believe it can, and it will. And I think this year, you're already going to see some of the major government departments will be moving to BVT. So we already have this well under control, and we believe that this is something that we can actually help the country grow. So again, it's not about just for us, it's about creating a legacy, solving issues with a modern Indonesia for decades to come, not selling our business in 6 months' time or 2 years' time to a foreign entity. That's not really what we set the business up for. I believe the opportunities are pretty endless. Again, I go back to Dr. Sandy's acceptance speech when he basically sounded like he'd read my brochure. Mapping big data is the future, and we are the leaders in that future in Indonesia. So again, I think opportunity, a country should have its own map. When I tell people this, people say, how can you do that? How can you compete with Google? We already have more small store data than Google. We've collected a huge amount of data. So basically, yeah, we believe within 2 years, people will be using our map instead of Google in Indonesia. And we also have an application, Decade, which will enhance the opportunity of the large SME community. So in all the things that we do, we believe that will help post-pandemic, but also we believe that it actually helps the economy and drives technology forward, basically. So that's basically my overall views.
Okay, thank you very much, Martin. I think big data is really the thing here, and tech, and of course, solve a lot of issues that we're just in the beginning. Thank you very much, Martin.
Thank you. Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to go to Julian. Julian, I think on your presentation, you're very bullish, mentioning that working from home is here to stay for 2021. But what are the challenges, though, that comes with the idea of working from home, and how businesses can actually maximize opportunities for this and also boost productivity?
Thanks, Monica. I think, yeah, I'm still very bullish in terms of people are I think this staying at home, actually not staying at home, working from home is here to stay. But there are some challenges, right? The biggest challenge is actually cultural, finding the right format, right? How to make the work from home work. A lot of cultural issues are from KPIs and OKRs from companies, right? They need to really look at how do you measure performance of people, right? Tech worker is much easier, but sales is more challenging. But I think the pandemic really shows that it could be done. Second is availability of good home office, right? There's very few and far in between when people can have dedicated office room. Third challenge is still bandwidth, but again, I think it's very notable that I put this at third instead of I would say the first if we were been talking a couple of years ago. Some companies are readier than others. Some companies already using cloud and SaaS software. It makes it much easier to transition to this mode of work, and time management aspect, making sure you have the right mindset to actually do work from home. Yeah, I think that's some of the challenges, Monica. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much, Julian. And next, I'd like to go back to Dr. Sandiaga. Talking about the future of industry and digital manufacturing will definitely supplant today's traditional manufacturing activity, which is highly industrialized and complex. So how do you see the technological industry evolving in Indonesia for the next coming years?
I think it's going to be very, very exciting. You will see the potential unleashed because we have technological companies, unicorns, startups addressing a lot of inefficiency that exists in our economy. Manufacturing sectors, processing industries. We are seeing micro, small, medium enterprises using technology. We are also seeing, in the tourism creative economy, one of the unicorns is actually from the tourism sector, which is Traveloka. And the use, like what Martin and Julian mentioned, BVT actually uses the best talent that we have. And this is how the Indonesian human capital will benefit by the existence of local companies to create new quality supply of jobs. And these are what I have mentioned earlier, that emergence of technology and the digital economy actually create good jobs, create very, very stable in terms of opportunities that off and move from a traditional way of us, uh, the industrial type of relations between workers and entrepreneurs, but more of a partnership. So technology and digitalization is actually one the great reset that actually accelerated by this pandemic. So long story short, Monica, I'm very optimistic, and I think within the tourism and creative economy, we'll see the sector grow from currently maybe 5 to 7% to 10 to 15% contributions to our economy, thanks to digital.
10 to 15%. Thank you very much, Dr. Santi. And I do agree that the emergence of technology and the creative economy actually creates jobs. Like you mentioned earlier, it's about 9 million jobs created from this sector. And we're really excited to see how creative economy as a sector will contribute a huge part of our country's economy in the future. Thank you very much, Dr. Sandi. And I'd like to ask Martin as well the same questions on about the future of industry. What sorts of disruptions that maybe we'll see in the next couple of years or so?
I mean, I think you're seeing more and more like logistics companies, logistics startups. I mean, we're not a pure logistics startup, but we can help logistics companies. But I think you're seeing more and more changes of the way that industries are operating, where they're delivering, where they're actually, I think more research is being done for where they put their factories, where they put their plants. So everything is changing in a way to try to make business more effective. I know that I've talked to people at Jababeka. They plan to open all these 100 industrial sites all over Indonesia. And of course, in the past, how can they do that? How can they make the decisions? But again, now there is a lot more opportunity that technology can drive decision making to be more effective. So yeah, I think there's a lot of people also focusing on that industrial, how technology can improve, the supply chain, delivery, yeah, everything in relation to that, really.
Okay, thank you very much, Martin. And next question, I'd like to go to Julian. I think in 2020 we can see the rise of data volumes in everywhere in the world, computational power and also connectivity. But what are the critical aspects that you think are needed and is going to happen in Indonesia in 2021?
This is for me, or?
This is for you, yes.
Okay, yeah. So I think the biggest challenge is still, and this have improved in these past few years, but availability of the ready workforce. I think a lot of
excuse me, Julian. Sorry.
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but Pak Menteri has to go soon, and he'd like to give a closing remark. So, would you please give the floor to Dr. Sandy? Thank you. Yeah.
Sorry, Julian, Martin.
No worries.
Yeah.
Thank you, boss. Thanks for your time today. Yeah. Cheers.
Yeah, thank you. I am no longer unemployed. Right now, I'm employed. So I have a boss, and he has given me a very tight timeline to.
I hope your boss is watching this. That's very important.
I'm sure he watched this because he is, he has lots of years. So thank you very much, the team and Monica. It's always great to have conversation with you, Pak Eric. And also, I would like to thank all the sponsors. Marugame Udon, I feel very happy. That's a new type of innovative promotion. You promote defense close to lunch. Now you're thinking about Marugame Udon for lunch. So good luck and thank you, and soon on the next Sandilogi event. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thanks, Pak.
Thank you. Thank you, Pak Menteri. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, Julian.
So yeah, to continue. So I think the problem has been similar with what we have been facing the past few years, which is the availability of talent. But I think one bright spot is, especially during the pandemic, there has been a huge push for quick hackathons, right? Companies like Hacktivate, Ruang Guru has been doing a lot of things to try to alleviate. There's also interest in online learning, you know, primarily from outside Indonesia. But again, Hacktivate have already modified their format into remote learning. So that area is going to take a little bit of time, but that's the most critical part. Bandwidth is, I don't think it's much of an issue right now, but it's the talent part. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Julian. And now I have one final questions for both of you. I think we all know that one of the biggest contributors of Indonesia's GDP is our small and medium enterprises, or SMEs. And how do you think the shifts and also the changes that will take place in our SMEs, for example, in the next 5 or 10 years from a technological perspective? And what will happen to our SME if they do not want to adopt technology and also innovations? I'd like to go to Martin first.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of startup companies trying to serve the SME community, like the payment systems, for example. And it does take time, obviously, to convince mama and pap stores to start using technology, I imagine. I mean, I've never tried, but I imagine it's quite difficult. But it's like Gojek, right? You know, when Gojek started, probably most of the people didn't have a smartphone. And they got a smartphone because they needed it for everyday life and it could increase their family income. So people do tend to follow the technology. And I believe that the same will happen. So the payment systems to make things quicker, things like our product Decade, which is going to help the SME community for cheap, effective advertising, based on locations of people, because it's very hard if you're an SME, if you're a small tire shop or a coffee shop competing against the big boys to get your message out there. They've got big budget for the blasting, etc. You don't. So being able to actually tap into technology without paying a huge amount of money is going to be a big benefit. You know, they can't run adverts in the lifts in Pacific Place, can they? You know, so how do they get around this? So I think that's going to be a massive difference of how they can build their business by reaching a wider audience and managing their process more effectively. And that's even going to be down to the logistics of delivery, making sure they have the correct amount of stuff delivered on the right time, rather than food going out of date and no organization. So it will take time, but as I said, I think Gojek has proved that you know, people might have, I wasn't here at the beginning, but I can imagine people, because when I talked to some of my friends in Tokyo and Hong Kong, and I talked about our applications, people are saying, does everybody have a smartphone in Indonesia? See, there's the perception, right? So I'm sure 10 years ago, not everybody had the smartphone in Indonesia. And now everybody has, because they need it for their everyday life. And I think everything will change like that. I think these people will change with the times, because it's necessary for to increase their productivity and profits.
Okay, but Martin, what do you think are the main challenges of our startup lives? Is it the funding? I've read a statistic saying only 5% of our startups grow to the next level.
Well, I think the biggest issue, as I told you in presentation, it's very concentrated. I mean, nearly everyone who's involved with big startups here knew each other from school. So it's one thing for sure, it's very concentrated. You know, I wouldn't know how to pitch to a VC and spent over 15 years working in finance. So if you're a very clever kid from ITB and UGM, I don't think you're able to do it. right? It's going to be a very difficult challenge for you. If I can't do it after my long-term period of time, I'm sure I'm much more confident talking to family offices, people I know. It's just a different model. So yeah, I think they need to make it more inclusive. And you know, it does seem to me that there's a big, like one year's food delivery, next year's logistics. There seems to be a following trend rather than a picking out the best people in the market. The challenge is that the B2C model needs a lot more money, right? And it depends what the goals are of these people. Is their goal to get a valuation and sell it on, or is their goal to actually make a difference? It's very different than doing listed equities, for example, where you look at the balance sheet. And that's why I think some of the companies have a problem listing now, because I mean, you still see some listing, but you know, looking at some of these balance sheets, people would have a heart attack, especially the early year burn rate, right? But yeah, I think there's a lot of people who don't get the chance, don't get the exposure, who probably have great ideas. There's certainly money around still. I see funding happening very often. But I guess it is still quite concentrated. I think it's a good idea to try to spread that out a bit, because I think it would benefit the VCs also, because the VCs would tap into ideas that could be changing for the country. And, you know, if something changes the whole country, the valuation will come with that, you know, I believe. And I think there's probably things out there, smart people who just don't have that access. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. I'd like to ask the same question as well to Julian. Let me read out the question once again. One of the biggest contributors of Indonesia's GDP is small and medium enterprises. How do you think the shifts and also the changes that will take place in our SMEs in the next 5 to 10 years from a technological perspective?
I think the key is adapt to survive, right? Small businesses that are ready and willing. I think it's more of a case of willing instead of ready to adopt technology are the ones that are going to survive and thrive. You know, we see mom and pop now. You know, yesterday I bought martabak manis with GoPay on the street side, scanning QR code. These are, you know, people would never thought to say, okay, well, they'll just accept cash. Now everybody starts to accept alternative payment, micropayments, right? I think we know everybody within our circles that suddenly starts to bake, right? Make cakes at home and everything. And it, yes, and my wife too. And selling it online on Tokopedia and multiple other places. So, and it is using technology. It's selling by WhatsApp, Instagram, whatever, right? Tokopedia. And that's you know, that's the, it's not that complicated. It's just a willingness to start doing something. You know, I don't want to be a tagline for, you know, Tokopedia's tag, just try doing it, right? But it's exactly it. You should start to do it and you will at least survive, and at most you will thrive and be very successful. Yeah, that's I know it's not a very techy answer, but that's I think that's the truth.
Okay, willingness to adapt, that's the key. Thank you very much, Julian. And thank you very much, our speakers, Dr. Sandi, Julian, and Martin. Thank you very much for all the interventions. And my phone actually has been ringing with a lot of questions so far. And I think without further ado, we will now start our Q&A sessions. I'll now read out the first questions. Let me see here. Yeah. We have a question. It's from Raphael Jeffrey. What the OJK regulations on e-money, fintech, GoPay, Link Aja, and OFO were huge amounts of stagnant cash are parked for specific periods of time, average 8 to 10 hours per day, and don't enjoy any interest on funds stagnant an account. And this question is addressed for Julian.
Okay, Actually, I don't know. So I'm not from OJK, but I understand the the question, right? That it will start making questions in regards to, okay, that money is there. What's going to happen? I think OJK will, I cannot answer it officially for OJK, so I think that should be addressed to OJK. Sorry about that.
Okay, no worries. Next questions. We have a question from Muhammad Yo. Good afternoon. Allow me to introduce myself. Okay, I would like to ask a question to Julian and Martin. It is interesting that technology is playing a big part in our community now. Would you care to explain how to raise people awareness about their data? In my circle alone, people use technology such as social media and any other things without concerning their data. In my opinion, educational system needs to be improved a lot in order to prepare our society. Maybe I'll let go to Martin first. Yes, Martin, can you hear me?
Martin, can you hear us?
Your mic,
Martin?
please.
Yeah. Could you unmute, Martin?
Yes, I can hear you now. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks.
Right. So it's about how can people to make more confident of using technologies without giving up their data. You mean?
Yes.
That's basically the question, right? Yeah, it's a challenge because it's the same all over the world now, and I think it's something that obviously we've got to. I mean, most of the data that we use, the demographic data that's available to everybody, right? It's government data, etc. But we also have telco data. That data actually is not specific to that individual, though. So it's what we call aggregated data. So the difference is I don't know what that person's telephone number is. I don't know anything personal about that person. I just know it's a man or a woman. They're based on their device ID. I can work that out. My software can calculate how many men, how many women in this area at this time, except what apps they've been looking at. But it doesn't go down to the level of what person. But of course, people don't know that. People actually think you can actually find out what that person, is doing on the day-to-day basis. That's not legal in Indonesia still. I mean, the telco companies might be able to use it for certain things, but generally, we get asked quite often by car finance companies if we can, like, some way follow. If they give us the telephone number, can we follow their geotag their customers, right? Which obviously we cannot do. So again, it is something that obviously Gojek have a huge amount of data. So everybody takes a Gojek every day, and Gojek have a lot of personal data on people. So I do think people are becoming aware that there's benefits of it also. But of course, it even frustrates me when I go onto Google and they know exactly what I had for dinner last night, and I get it. I get it from. I mean, I'm from a non-tech background. It's quite frustrating, but at the same time, from a business point of view, it allows them to make crazy better decisions than they could ever make previously. I mean, I've actually met a guy who wanted to buy our software, and then during the meeting, he got quite annoyed the fact that you have this data, like, so even sometimes the management level are not aware that how much data is available, but the data we have is all available to anybody. We just aggregate that data and put it all together and map that data. So it's not any kind of. I mean, obviously we collect proprietary data also, but it's not like we have any special way to get the data. But yeah, I sign up for memberships of. I'm one of the few people who doesn't have no OVO, who has no GoPay, because I don't want spamming all day long, and I don't have membership of Ranch Market because it's just.
Okay. Thank you. That this question.
Sorry, Monica. It's lagging again. Can you repeat that? Sorry about that. It's lagging again. Can you repeat that? Sorry about that.
I can hear. I can hear you perfectly, but I'm not a data scientist.
I think the voice has
I think there's a connection issue.
The voice went down.
Monica, we can't hear you. Yeah.
Is it like?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly now. So I don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hear me. Not Eric, yeah?
Eric and Julian can't hear. I can, but I can't answer questions on data science.
Okay. No worries. Okay. No worries. Then I think it's thinking a question, and this is playing a big part in our community. Is playing a big part in our community to explain on how that will be taken place in Indonesia. Care be taken place in Indonesia. How?
Sorry. No, I'll just repeat that. I lost you then. Sorry.
Okay. The question about on what sort of technological changes and also advancements that will happen to our e-commerce next couple of years.
Okay. What kind of advances, what kind of changes will happen to e-commerce? I think there'll be, companies coming together, consolidation. The undercutting is going to, I believe, it's going to have to lead to consolidation. And we're seeing that already with talks about Tokopedia and Growjack and Grab and Gojek. But I think that will happen in the e-commerce space also. There's a couple of big operators and a lot of smaller operators. And obviously, what they're doing is obviously undercutting each other, trying to get bigger company and start looking at the profitability of the organization, which is not really possible if you just sell on price, if everything's sold on price. Also the loyalty, the issue I think with a lot of companies is loyalty. People don't really have the loyalty to brand, I don't think, that people think they do. People look at the biggest discount, got themselves into a situation where that's what people care about. I saw a comment the other day about Shopee's now taken over Tokopedia, getting close, and somebody wrote in the comments below that Tokopedia is now stingy with their discounts. And I thought, well, Tokopedia is now trying to, make a profit, trying to turn to profit, but it's hard when, move towards profitability. and move to having something other than price. Because when people, I mean, I don't do this, but when I go out for lunch or dinner with people here, they go into the restaurant and they find out which company gives them the biggest discount. Now, if that's the only decision that you make between using different platforms, it's not the usability, 30,000 here or 50,000 here, they use this one. There isn't a huge amount of loyalty to a brand, and that's an issue. You know, if you're just selling on price and you've got nothing else to offer, so I do think there'll be consolidation. I think there'll be, unfortunately, less small players, and you might, as you see consolidation between the travel agent and Tokopedia, because, you know, the investment can only continue for so long. So there's going to have to be something done to actually make the business, it provides great service for everybody, but how do they make this business profitable? And there's going to be some big changes needed, because losses are going up in a lot of the companies, you know. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Martin and Julian, for sharing with us and for the interventions. And that's the end of our sessions. I thank you very much to our keynote speakers, Dr. Sandilogi, Martin Taberlowski, and Mr. Julian Gallo as well, for your interventions. Thank you very much. And our sponsors as well. We have and we also have Hadian Iswara, President of Commissioner. Thank you. And also Sandilogi, thank you very much. And I think further discussion, it's really astonishing seeing how technology has taken a place in the last couple of years, and especially in 2020 of the COVID-19 pandemic. And even traditional business like Julian said now that he bought martabak on the street using GoPay as the payment. That is something, you know, really exciting, something that maybe we have to think of in the last couple of years. And I think that traditional businesses are starting to acknowledge and the changes and the urgency with which we must pursue and also adopt more to survive in the future. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Monica Chua. Stay healthy and safe, and good day to you all. Back to you, Eric.
Thank you, Monica.
Thanks, Monica.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you
Monica,
sorry.
Yes.
Sorry, carry on. I'll just say, Monica, sorry your t-shirt was late. You can you'll get it probably. I bet you're very disappointed.
Of your shirt.
You'll have it tomorrow, so you can wear it when you go out at the weekend, right? So it's.
Okay. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you.
Good day.
Okay.
Cheers. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Monica. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we bring this forum to a close, we would like to offer our sincere appreciation to Bumi Varta Technology, in particular to the founder, Martin Terpilovsky, as well as the CEO, Julian Gaffar. And our special thanks also goes to the founders of Sandilogi, being Erwin Suryadi, Yuga Arden, Aaron Antonio, as well as Johnny Teo. And in addition, we'd like to offer our sincere gratitude to the board of directors of PT Sari Melati Kencana, being the license holder of Pizza Hut Indonesia and Marugame Udon, for being our sponsor, as well as attending this event. Last but not least, I'd like to thank all the participants who have spent their valuable time to come and join our event, as it has been a great pleasure to be able to host this event, and I wish you all a great day. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Eric. Thanks, Monica.
Thank you. Thanks, Martin.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Monica.
Cheers.
Thanks, Julian.
Talk soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Good day.
Have a good day. Have a good day.
Can you put our video on?
Thanks.